Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're stepping away from the bright lights, looking way past the glamorous architects of the AI revolution. Instead, we're heading into the shadows to find the hidden physical muscle that actually controls, well, everything in our digital world. Okay, let's dive into this. Think of a company like NVIDIA as the brain and the architect. They're out there brilliantly designing the future of artificial intelligence. But foundries, companies like TSMC and Samsung, they are the hands, they're the muscle. Because without these physical foundry toll booths, the most advanced AI chips in the entire world are basically just beautiful ideas drawn on paper. These foundries are the ones actually building the physical reality we all rely on every single day. Section 1. TSMC, the Silent Emperor. TSMC is one of the absolute purest, most brutally efficient production monopolies in tech history. And they do it all completely in silence, behind the scenes, without selling a single chip under their own brand name. Over 90%. Just let that number sink in. That is their global market share for advanced chip manufacturing under 7 nanometers. That's the bleeding edge, microscopic scale you need for today's modern tech. Listen, if you need the best silicon on the planet in huge quantities, you have absolutely zero choice. You have to pay TSMC's toll. And just think about the companies completely dependent on them. Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. This is not just a roster of happy customers, right? It brilliantly illustrates a fundamental existential dependency. Even NVIDIA, the absolute undisputed monarch of AI right now, literally cannot survive without TSMC's manufacturing power. If TSMC's machines stop, NVIDIA's GPUs simply do not exist in the real world. So how do they keep this iron grip? It's something we call lithographic lock-in. Basically, it's this impenetrable triple alliance between ASML, TSMC, and NVIDIA. TSMC is pretty much the only client with the sheer scale to absorb the massive capacity of ASML's unbelievably expensive EUV machines. This locks out any new competitors. I mean, even if a rival showed up today with billions of dollars to build a factory, they literally wouldn't be able to buy the necessary machines for years. The physical doors to entry are completely locked shut. Section 2. Taiwan, a geopolitical time bomb. Now, all of this immense power, this entire silicon monopoly, is heavily concentrated in one of the most fragile geopolitical locations on Earth, which forces us to ask a pretty terrifying question. What actually happens during a crisis in Taiwan? If this single physical toll booth shuts down, what happens to the digital infrastructure of our entire planet? The short answer? Complete global economic paralysis. A disruption there wouldn't just delay a few new AI models, it would effectively crash the global economy. Now, sure, countries like the US and Japan are desperately trying this thing called friendshoring, investing billions to move production inside safer borders. But here's the reality. That process is way too slow, insanely expensive, and honestly just painfully inadequate at preventing an immediate, catastrophic shock. Section 3. Samsung, the cyclical king. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shows the other side of the coin. While TSMC rules logic chips, our second emperor, Samsung Electronics, absolutely dominates the commodity memory market, specifically DRAM, which is the short-term memory inside almost all of our electronics. They hold roughly 40 to 45% of the global market. That's huge, because when you hold nearly half the market, whenever there's a memory shortage, Samsung gets to effectively dictate the rules, drastically raise prices, and quite literally print money. And it follows this super volatile, predictable rhythm. We call it the commodity toll booth cycle. Step 1, you get an industry shortage and high demand. Step 2, Samsung capitalizes on that, leading straight to astronomical prices and record profits. But then, step 3, the inevitable overproduction hits, because everyone rushes in to cash out. And finally, step 4, a severe price crash. It's this violent boom and bust rhythm, and Samsung is the undisputed master of surfing those waves. But Samsung actually has a massive vulnerability. It's a severe identity crisis. See, TSMC is like the neutral Switzerland of the chip world. They operate as a pure foundry. Samsung, they are trying to be a foundry while simultaneously remaining a titan of consumer electronics. So imagine your company like Apple or NVIDIA. You're going to be incredibly terrified to hand your top secret blueprints and billions in cash over to a company that's actively acting as a direct competitor in smartphones and hardware, right? Section 4. Who will collect the tolls next? So we've seen that TSMC is a geographically fragile emperor, and Samsung is kind of this two-faced king. Because of all this, a rebellion is quietly brewing. The crucial point here is that the biggest indirect customers out there, massive cloud giants like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, they're getting completely exhausted by paying these hardware toll booths. Instead of just endlessly paying taxes to these physical empires, these software titans are now carving out their own independent pathways. They're actually designing their own silicon engines. Which leaves us with this one truly provocative cliffhanger. Can software scale ultimately defeat physical precision? Like, can the absolute boundless wealth of these cloud empires ever truly escape the microscopic physical grip of TSMC and Samsung? It's a massive conflict that's going to shape our technological reality for decades to come. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning how our world is actually built.